It is always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin, brought to you by Smiley One and Brian, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling experts, as far as I'm concerned. Daryl, the day after is where we are right now against the Colts. It doesn't feel like a victory, but yet it was. You tell me, Daryl, how should Browns fans feel today, the day after?
Take it and run. Like, why wouldn't Browns fans feel? You won the game. It's all that matters. You're 4-2. You know, like, why wouldn't you feel good about it?
Because they don't think it's sustainable. I think that's what the gist was today on our show.
Yeah, it's not. Certainly, PJ Walker, a quarterback. We talked about this in the postgame pod. Like, I don't think it's sustainable having to keep going to him and winning football games. You to be honest about it, you got lucky 2 weeks in a row, which is great. Again, not complaining. The Browns have been the most unlucky team in the NFL for like the last, I don't know, quarter century here. But I mean, this Deshaun Watson injury stuff has just, I think, thrown a big monkey wrench into the whole season. I don't know. There's like no timetable again. We're back to this day-to-day crap. And well, the last day-to-day thing lasted 3 weeks. So Kevin Stefanski, who's illuminating as always when we get to talk to him, provided no context, no nothing regarding this injury and where he's at. And so, you know, we're back to asking the same 8 bleeping questions we've had to ask for the last 3.5, 4 weeks about Deshaun. So I can't wait to do that again. But you know, I agree. This isn't sustainable. To expect them to keep winning week in and week out like this, but they were able to steal 2 games. Great. They're 4-2 going to Seattle. So Browns fans should feel fine. I mean, the defense is still really, really good. The problem with this team right now is the problem that they've had since 1999. It's the quarterback.
I'm with you, Daryl. So here's my overwhelming thought. Like, they need to. They're 4-2, right? You look good as far as your record right now. You've put yourself in a spot after 6 games to take your destiny into your own hands. I think the question is, what are you doing with the quarterback with this destiny? And are you hanging on to something because you made the investment in it? Or do you feel like you could bring in a quarterback who's healthy and can ride you through the rest of the season and maybe, you know, lead you into the playoffs and do something else? Like, if Deshaun is hurt, let him be hurt. And let's not push this anymore, because it's not helping anything moving forward. So if he's hurt, then you got to come up with a critical decision on what you want to do at quarterback. I still don't understand what they were thinking with DTR, other than the fact they thought they would lose DTR if they sent him back to the practice squad in the beginning of the season. They thought another team would take him early on, and they didn't feel like they were in a position to do that. So I understand why they wanted to protect him in that aspect. But in that case, if they didn't think he was ready to be one snap away, they should have had 3 quarterbacks right out of the gate. That's the mistake. That's where the problem is here. And now they find themselves in this position with a backup quarterback who you jumped off the practice squad because he had experience in the past, but yet doesn't seem like he's going to be able to be sustainable moving forward. So what are you going to do?
I think they need to bring in a quarterback. Like, DTR ain't ready. Not good enough. And that's okay. It's a rookie 5th-round pick. They took a flyer on him, right?
Totally agree.
He was a developmental player. So that's not a criticism of him. It's just he's not ready yet. But I agree with you. I think that's the biggest mistake that Andrew Berry made. He assumed that Deshaun Watson was starting 17 games this year, which is the worst assumption you can make as the general manager of the Cleveland Browns. They never have quarterbacks that can last a full schedule. And especially when you have a guy like Deshaun who gets hit all the time. The first hit he took in Indianapolis knocked him out of the damn game. Took 1 hit. Done for the day. And you got to trot PJ Walker out there. God love him. I mean, he played his ass off. He's just not that good. That's why he's a practice squad player, right?
Right.
So, like, they got to find a quarterback. But here's the thing. They're going to have – you can't get a quarterback this week and start him Sunday in Seattle. Like, unless it's going to be Jacoby Brissett, which isn't going to happen. It's fun to talk about, but that's not going to happen. That's just not realistic.
I mean, basically, when you watch this or you listen to this, they'll have a week to make a decision on the trade deadline.
Yeah, but like, I mean, they're stuck. I think that's the reality you're in.
Well, it's a weird spot to be stuck because, I mean, you're sitting here with a silver platter in front of you. Go out there, execute, have this defense that I know they struggled a little bit against Indianapolis, but come on. I mean, this defense can take you to the playoffs. They've got to do something offensively to get this thing moving in the right direction.
Right.
Well, so that the offense can really win a game without having to have the referees have 2 miracle calls 2 weeks in a row.
Well, no, it was a miracle. You had a field goal go wide, right, and then you got the miracle call.
Well, they also had 2 miracle calls on their last drive last week. And then, there was a questionable call coming back. Again, I say don't leave it in the referee's hands. Be up by 14 so you don't have to worry about any of that stuff at the end. Yeah, don't put it in the ref's hands.
This is the NFL. You ain't going to be up 14 often.
That's what I'm saying. But if you can control that, that's how you don't worry about referees.
So here's the
PJ
Walker thing right now, all right? He's out of elevations. So he's back on the practice squad now. But if they want to use him again, remember, he's the number 2 quarterback. So it's not, let's say Deshaun plays against the Seahawks. They still have a PJ Walker issue because if they want to use him as the number 2 quarterback and have him available, they have to put him on the 53-man roster. So he's still, quote, property of the Cleveland Browns. All right. He's still on the Browns practice squad. But they have to sign him to the 53 to be able to use him again. And, they're going to have to carry 3 quarterbacks. That's just all there is to it. And again, I asked the question, is the 53rd roster spot on this roster that much more valuable than having a 3rd quarterback to the Cleveland Browns right now? Apparently, yes, because they've only been carrying 2 quarterbacks on the active roster. But
I mean, Daryl, you asked Kevin about this. What'd you think of his answer? You straight out asked him about this whole stuff.
That was exactly the answer I was expecting to get.
We'll figure this out tomorrow.
Yeah, I wanted to say, well, Andrew's never available to the media, so we have to ask you. Because that's true. Andrew's never available to the media.
Well, once here.
Yeah, we get him for the bye week. We get him for a season wrap-up. We get him at the combine, and we get him during training camp. We get him 4 times a year. So, like, I would ask Andrew Berry if Andrew Berry held a press conference every day like you do, but he doesn't.
He has his own personal press conference with him. Yes, it's great.
Yeah. So, he answered the question totally how I expected him to. Yeah, I mean, they got to figure this thing out. They do. And so, yeah, this is a pretty big mistake on the Browns' part, though. They got a quarterback problem. They have the same freaking problem that they've had for the last 25 years. The whole point of giving up 6 draft picks and $230 million and taking on the baggage that dude brought to the city of Cleveland was so we're not having these conversations. And here we are. We're having these conversations. So, and it's really problematic because this is a playoff team. This is a really, really good football team. This is a team that if they had a quarterback worth a damn, they would be Super Bowl contenders.
We would be talking X's, Daryl. We would be talking X's and O's every podcast.
Right.
We would be talking about scheme. We would be talking about breaking down plays. We would be talking about actual football stuff. Instead, we go right back to drama all the time.
Yeah. And Deshaun isn't worth anything to the Browns right now because he's hurt. And I'm not criticizing Deshaun for being hurt. I'm criticizing the situation. That's what I'm criticizing, the situation. The Browns are in the same situation again. And they didn't get a backup quarterback for a guy who needs a backup quarterback because he takes hits. Now, Andrew Berry said at the bye week, well, Deshaun's been fairly durable in his career, et cetera, et cetera. That's all well and good. But you're the general manager of the Cleveland Browns. When the hell does anything go according to your plan? Like, you need to anticipate.
Dustin Hopkins went according to plan, I think.
Okay. All right.
Maybe.
I'll give you Dustin. We're going to get it.
I had to find something there. You knew I would.
But, like, you have to plan for these things. And I think Andrew Berry did a poor job planning for the eventuality that Deshaun Watson's not playing all 17 games. He's going to get hurt. And I'm not criticizing Deshaun. Injuries happen in the NFL. He lasted one damn hit Sunday. Lasted one hit. Done for the day. Back to square one. Day to day. Shoulders messed up again. Thankfully, he didn't have a concussion because he did. I thought that's what it was. I thought he got a concussion because
didn't the evaluator come down, and then so that's how that worked. So
he hit his head really hard on that Lucas Oil Stadium turf. But he lasted one hit, and now we're back to day, which I'm going to translate that for you. Multiple weeks. That's probably what we're looking at. I hate to.
And if that's the case, they need to go out and get another quarterback. It's always game day in Cleveland, Daryl. Let's talk more about this. Let's talk about what the fans are feeling right now. The Browns won, and yet it feels like a loss. It's always game day in Cleveland.